two guys this year. We got a really powerful mayor, and he's got an issue with that council secretary, so he tells us 15 guys, let's cut our budget. And they say, okay. Meanwhile, the minority party is kicking and screaming that the budget gets cut, and she doesn't have a parking space, or she doesn't have an office, or whatever, until she gets on board. These are the kinds of things that I'm not saying happen in Danbury, but can happen. So, yeah, probably a civil servant is a step in the right direction. Does it solve the problem? Not quite half.
Do we, as far as whether or not we need a city clerk?
Yeah, when elected to civil servant.
Well, if you had a choice, what would that position look like?
I'd like to see at least the duties and responsibilities more outlined and refined. We're not sure exactly what goes on in that office. So the first place to start is from telling everyone exactly what those roles and responsibilities are.
So you said we should just look at the description of the duties of the city clerk and clarify them.
That's just the beginning.
I think that it probably also needs to be updated.
I think if you were to talk to people, I mean, the constituents that speak to me that have an opinion, position to be civil servant. I can't really tell you why.
I think accountability is one thing.
Could be.
An elected official is not accountable to the person who's their servant.
But
We've heard that from a couple of.
Right. My issue is that they can be completely independent. And I think at the end of the day, I'm more comfortable with a guy who may be a little sloppy, who's independent, than a guy who might be very effective, who may not necessarily be working in my best interest. That's even.
But is independence a critical thing in running that office if the office is principally responsible for the business of the common council? How independent do you
Principal
have to be?
responsibility would usually lie with particular administration that's in power.
But let's take the mayor out of it for a moment, okay? And maybe that's not the right way to look at it. Take the mayor out of it and say the responsibilities of the city clerk is to serve the common council. And then the question would be, is that elected? And if it's an elected official, which we currently have, then there's no accountability other than to the electorate of Danbury. If it was a civil service job, reporting in to, whether it be the majority and the minority leaders or the common council president, I would think there ought to be some sort of dotted line responsibility where both parties or whatever parties are represented, that they're truly working with that. Would that be a better way of dealing with this? Would you think that would be workable? So it takes it literally out of the hands of the mayor. And it would be the link to the mayor. I mean, from my perspective, you have the city clerk who does this, and then you have the mayor's assistant, who is also a liaison with the common council, correct?
Not so much.
No?
You may type in something for Michael Block.
Michael Block.
Not so much.
No.
We see him all the time at events. He's very good at setting those up, but he's at all the council meetings. But when I make phone calls and the email traffic goes back and forth, those are the same things. I mean, not to say that Mike didn't send me an email or vice versa, but normally that traffic is generated by the offices. Look, if you've got a strong majority on the council, they're going to dictate the terms of the civil servant. So your minority will serve under that model. With an elected official, that can still happen, but it doesn't have to happen because they're elected. They're not answering to the council, they're answering to the electorate. It's been my experience that the city clerks have been fairly responsive to the council. They're partisan. They're Republicans or Democrats. There is an element of partisanship in the package. You can sort of get what you pay for, but ultimately they are independent. I think the best model is paid staff under the direction of the city clerk, and the paid staff would be civil servant. But their department head would be an elected official, responsible to people, not responsible to me. I wouldn't be able to call up this person Flint. I wouldn't be able to get my guys together in a caucus and do something really weird to friends are out playing ball with me, or anybody else, they would be, hey, Rotelli, that's nice knowing you, man, but I'm, you know, I got to run for election just like you. I have a civil servant, my feeling is that they would be a little bit easier to manipulate, and that's what I'm trying to avoid for the staff.
But by having a civil servant, they could simply eliminate the position and then it's gone.
They could do that, and there's always that risk.
Mary?
I have a question. If you had a civil servant, who would that person's supervisor? Would it be the mayor? What
What
union
about-
would they join? Who, wouldn't they ultimately be managed by the mayor?
We were thinking, could they be responsible to the president of the council?
Well, remember, we're all volunteers.
Who's doing that person's job evaluation every year? You know, who is, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that person would ultimately work for the mayor.
I guess we're trying to take the politics out of politics.
Good luck.
It's-
When you reach that magic.
It's
Oh.
very-
Yeah, that's a very good point. This is obviously someone who's taken a look at the matter, which I haven't spent a lot of time on, because it's hard enough just trying to get a part-timer funder around here. So, I mean, we're really thinking big thoughts now. I'm just in the trenches trying to make sure that I don't get my helmet shot off. That's sometimes all I can think about. But yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, ultimately, if you're really going to report to, reporting to the mayor, then you're pretty much back where you started
Back where you
from,
started.
someone emasculating the concept.
I think so.
Any other questions, comments? Pretty clear?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sensitive to time, it's 9:20.
No, no.
So,
Is it?
Oh, we got a couple hours to kill
I have
here.
one more.
Now you versus Al, what the heck?
Mary wants to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I had
Mary, you know
a,
what? You don't ever have to raise your, you can just go. I'll let you know if you're overbearing.
I had a draft of my own of the preamble, but I didn't know if I could distribute it. I didn't know how, without, I don't break any rules. I didn't know I would.
Why not?
I'll leave it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Through the city, is everyone using the city site?
No.
No, no, none of
I
it.
think we're all getting it through our regular emails.
Mhm.
The last one, I think, goes back to April when Peter emailed.
I tried to do that.
Something, and I couldn't download something from these things, so.
Just make sure that there's no dialogue.
Yeah,
That
informational.
Conversation needs to happen here.
No, yeah,
Right.
no politicking, no cajoling.
So,
If you want to write what a nice guy our counselor is, we're not supposed
No
to.
dialogue.
Oh, no, and you never want to put a lie in print. Yes, sir.
Can I just address you briefly on a
Yes.
subject that has come up in name only so far without any serious discussion? That concerns term limits. Recall that a conversation we had a couple of weeks ago involved the idea of recall. And I indicated to you that there was case law that prohibited that. And so anticipating and being confirmed in reading the agenda, that there might be a conversation about term limits, I started that research. And I just want to report to you that so far, I've been stunned at the absence of law on the subject of term limits in Connecticut. There is law nationally, but it's split. It doesn't, some states, the rule is that you may create term limits, and in some states, the rule is you may not. So, as we speak now, I've done a couple of hours of work on this, and I'm not really sanguine about how successful I'll be if I do another 2 hours of research. And frankly, I've kind of decided to just raise a red flag for you. It's possible, based on the logic of that case dealing with recall, and the fact that there is specific language in the statutes that seems to govern, or at least suggest what terms ought to be 2 or 4 years, that it is possible that if you create term limits, that they may be struck down by court. And so what I want to tell you is, if you don't think this is a subject you're going to consider seriously, I won't do any more work on it. And that way, you're not paying for something you're not going to use. If it's seriously an issue for you, then I think I need to do more work. So when the time comes when you say, you know what, there's a significant percentage of the people on this commission who want to investigate this, then I will. But as we stand now, I'm stopping.
We're talking term limits, not
Term
term
limits,
length.
correct.
Right. We all
Yeah,
understand what we're talking about? That
Yeah.
means you can not, for example, not serve more than 2 or 3 terms in office? I don't,
Not the length of the term.
that was brought up, you know, in looking at the public hearing. A few people, very few people mentioned that as an issue. Um,
I remember being tied to, well, if you're going to extend it to this many years, then
Term.
yes,
Right.
it was tied to length.
I think another important thing of that I don't know if you've addressed, was if we did go to a 4-year term, there were recall provisions that was surfaced in conversation. And I believe your advice was that that's another issue, that we may not be able to go to a recall type of thing?
Yeah, there's specific case law prohibiting recall, creating recall provisions in charters that has been overcome by some municipalities through special acts. So you may find recall provisions in some charters, and you can, but they're not local creations.
That would be something that if we should decide to go forward, because I know you had raised that
Right.
as an issue, Peter.
That's right.
That you wouldn't be interested in pursuing that topic.
Right, and I think we've been advised that we can't write such a provision in our charter.
But if we decided, for example, a 4-year term, just by way of example, for an office, and we wanted to put a provision into the charter about recall, would we have to try to, how would we do that?
You would have to go through the General Assembly.
Okay, so then, before we put it in the charter, we would have to do that?
Well, the
clear that
General
up?
Assembly would pass a special act. You would need to put it in the charter.
No, it was, I didn't think they still pass special acts regarding municipalities and state.
Well, there is a limit on them, but we've had special acts.
So if we get to that point, then
It's a big
we don't want to put the cart before the horse. What do we have to do first? Do we have to amend the charter, or would we have to make sure that we get it passed through the general
Well, you
assembly
either
first?
have to get general or special legislation on the subject. You can't do it by charter, if you're talking about recall.
We can't do it.
No, so I'm saying, if we decided that was important,
The municipality would have to request that of the state legislature to do it,
Before
not
we
us.
put it in the
Right,
charter.
that's
Well, it
beyond
wouldn't be in
us.
the
No, you
charter,
wouldn't
it'd be
put
by
it
state
in
law.
the
Can't be in the charter.
So,
the recall provision couldn't be. in the
Right.
charter.
so if we went to
Right.
long.
I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear.
If we
I'm
went to
sorry.
longer term and someone did something illegal, we would have no recourse to remove them from office
Prison.
without.
Something else might happen. It wouldn't be-
That's an
So
option.
if you are convicted, like is there in the state statutes, if you're convicted of a felony, are you removed from office?
No.
If you're convicted, so you could be in prison and still be the mayor? theoretically?
No, well, you'd be,
If your term wasn't up.
I think Curley was elected mayor plus while he
Right.
was.
While it was
Yes,
still in
yeah.
prison.
Yeah, he was right, he was elected. while he
Mayor
was-
Providence.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question.
So, wow.
See how much people pay
You know,
attention?
Should Attorney Gottschalk continue his research?
I don't think
On
so.
term
I
limits?
don't,
No.
I think the sense of the commission is, you know, as I see it, is that we're not really
Is that,
considered
yeah,
term
let's
limits.
just.
It's
do a
not an
sense
issue
of
for
the-
me.
And you may change your minds later, but
Yeah.
as things stand now, I'm just reporting to you that it's.
That's
probably.
That goes by way of the
Yeah,
same
John's the
direction as
only
the
one that
map.
wants it, so.
I'm just waiting until he lets us know when he's going on vacation. That's when we're gonna ask.
Okay.
Well, Matt.
Last thing on our agenda, the commission will discuss charter requirements for a city clerk and treasurer. I would assume that means we're doing it next time because we will have, Jean Natali will be here on the 23rd. She's confirmed that she is available. Do we want,
What about the treasurer?
that'll be the main part of the program. I don't think I would want the city treasurer to come, or should we invite the city treasurer to come at that point?
Why not?
Why not?
Absolutely should.
Okay?
Um,
Peter, do you want to invite him, or would you like me to?
No,
Okay.
Does that take care of everything on our agenda?
For this agenda, yes.
This includes everything for tonight? Could I add something for a point of discussion? If everybody's in agreement? Take 5 minutes.
I think you've got to make a motion to add it to the agenda.
Make a motion, we add an agenda conversation coming from the public tonight on
Yep.
caps.
On the budget caps. Okay.
No, on bonding caps.
On bonding caps.
Right.
Okay, motion's been made that we have a discussion on bonding caps. Is there a second?
Second, John, trust me.
Can the chairman second?
Yes.
The chairman seconds. All in favor? Well, let's have a discussion about whether we have the discussion. Does anyone have any strong feelings either way?
Well, I think we should add this back to an agenda and invite everybody back and revisit it again. I mean, that's, if we want to talk about it.
That's
I mean,
essentially what I wanted to talk
do
about.
it that way than do it.
No, I don't want to talk
9:20
about
and-
the mechanics, Peter.
Okay.
What I, literally, it is based on the input that we received tonight, that I don't think it would be appropriate for the commissioners to ignore, not at least discussing what they've heard from the people in the audience tonight.
Fine, but
Because
I-
we have, we've been accused of being insensitive to some of that input, and I don't think that we want to have that. Whether the outcome is any different, that's something that, we'll decide as a commission, but I do believe we ought to have the conversation.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded that we have that discussion tonight. All in favor? Any more discussion about that?
Oh, wait, well, I have some, that we have a discussion tonight about
I think.
bringing it up again?
That's
Or-
what, that's what it's, in effect, how do we wish to react to what we heard tonight, Jim? Do we want to talk about it in a future meeting and put it on an agenda? Or do we want to say, we're not going there because we've already been there? And if we want to put it on an agenda, that's all we'll do for another night. It doesn't have to be the next meeting. It can be a couple meetings down the road. But I just don't think we should ignore
Well,
the
we've got
input.
more than a couple meetings left to revisit it,
Thank you.
okay?
But are we in agreement that we will, can we go on
Should it be
record?
should it be
to revisit?
revisited as a
That's
council?
all.
Well, I don't think, I personally don't, but I mean, if you want, we can discuss adding it to the agenda at some other date. I mean, but right now, tonight, I just don't, I don't want to take any more time on it.
I don't either.
would seriously consider adding it to the agenda.
No, I don't want to discuss the mechanics or anything else. All I'm saying, do we want to act on what the people told us tonight? That's the only thing I was
Do we
bringing
want to
up.
add it to the agenda for another meeting?
In the future.
That's the question.
Do we want to
That's what you want to know.
Right. Are we interested in reacting to that?
Rick, how do things get put on our agenda technically?
You decide.
You're the chairman, you make it up.
It will be on a future agenda.
There you go.
Done.
Okay?
I withdraw the motion.
Motion's withdrawn. Would anybody like to move that we go home?
Hey, man.
So moved.
Joan, motion's been made that we adjourn. A second? Thank you. I was going to say thank you, Mary. Any discussion?
I wanna say, all the people
All
talk about bonding.
all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Discuss it, but you're missing.
Say aye. All in favor, opposed, motion carries, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, we'll vote